Welcome back, everyone, to the Cole Klatt Show, the home of the Premier College Football League on NCAA 25. This week, we've got a stacked episode for you. We're diving deep into the drama, the rivalries, and the big moves shaking up the league. First up, Commissioner JT has had enough of the excuses and sent in a motivational speaker to fire up the league. What's the message? Stop complaining. Start contributing. We'll break down what that means for all you coaches out there. Then we're taking a close look at the new look Pac-12, who's rising, who's ranked, and why this could be the most competitive conference in the league. Plus, we'll be talking about the undefeated squads making waves. And yes, we're calling out the winless teams too. Drama man, we're looking at you. And finally, we're getting real about NIL deals, holding penalties, and why both in the game and in real life. It's time to stop complaining and start adapting. So smash that like button, hit subscribe, and let's get into it. This is the Cole Klatt Show, and you don't want to miss a second of it. All right, folks, let's kick off today's show with something that needs to be addressed. Word on the street is Commissioner JT sent over a motivational speaker to deliver a much-needed message to the Premier College Football League. Stop complaining. Start contributing. And honestly, that's the mindset we need to see in this league. Let's take a quick listen.
Don't complain. Contribute. Don't complain. Contribute. So when it get hot and you ain't feeling it, and you start taking it for granted, don't complain. Contribute to this team, to your unit, to this facility, to this organization. Don't complain. Contribute. It's a blessing to do it, fellas. It's a privilege. Do me a solid. Respect it.
We've heard the gripes about sliders and difficulty, but here's the reality. This isn't about making things easier. It's about stepping up. The best players and coaches aren't the ones looking for an easy win. They're the ones who adapt, strategize, and contribute to making this league the best it can be. So, enough with the excuses. Let's get back to what makes this league great, competing at the highest level. Now let's dive into one of the biggest stories of this season, the newly organized Pac-12. Talk about a conference that's gone through some major changes. After getting hit hard by realignment, the Pac-12 is trying to revitalize itself, and they've done that by bringing in a bunch of new teams. Check this out. Teams like Fresno State, New Mexico, Coastal Carolina, Jacksonville State, Memphis, Tulane, and more are now part of the Pac-12. But here's the kicker. This conference now has the most user-ranked teams in the Premier College Football League. We've got Fresno State sitting at number 12, New Mexico at number 23, and Coastal Carolina at number 10, though Coastal just took a tough loss to USC, so we'll see where they fall in the next rankings. The big question is, how will this new look Pac-12 stack up against the other conferences? It's hard to say right now. The Pac-12 was gutted by realignment, and this is their first real shot at rebuilding. But with the talent and competition in this league, it's going to be fun to watch. A conference with this many user-ranked teams is bound to bring some fireworks. All right, folks, let's talk about the elite, the teams that have yet to taste defeat so far this season. We've got some powerhouse performances, and it's clear that these coaches aren't just here to compete, they're here to dominate. Let's break it down. First up, we've got Cincinnati at 4-0, coached by D. Lloyd. And let me tell you, this team is firing on all cylinders, especially under the leadership of their quarterback, Brendan Sorsby. This guy has been lights out. 8 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a ridiculous quarterback rating of 213. Sorsby is just out there dealing. His favorite target, Cale Woodburn, who's already reeled in 4 touchdowns himself. These two are putting defenses on notice. But it's not just the offense that's making waves. On the defensive side, Jack Dingle is a one-man wrecking crew with 4 sacks this early in the season. Cincinnati's balance on both sides of the ball is what's keeping them undefeated. And if they keep this up, watch out for them in the playoff picture. Next, let's talk about Northwestern, 2-0 under Coach Matigi. Now, if you like old-school, smash-mouth football, this team is for you. Northwestern is dominating on the ground, averaging over 200 rushing yards per game. Their lead back, Caleb Kamaleif, has been an absolute workhorse. already racking up 322 yards in just 2 games, averaging a whopping 160 yards per game. When a team can control the clock like that with a bruising ground game, it becomes a nightmare for opposing defenses. You know what's coming, but stopping it? That's a whole different story. Matiji has this team playing tough, disciplined football, and they are going to be a problem for anyone in the Big Ten. Moving on to Texas State, where Coach Z-Star has his team off to a blazing 4-0 start. Sophomore quarterback P.J. Hatter is showing real promise, throwing for 7 touchdowns so far, though he's had a few hiccups with 3 interceptions. But what makes Texas State truly dangerous is their running back, Ismail Mahdi, who has been an absolute touchdown machine with 7 TDs in just 4 games. This offense has balance, and as Hatter continues to develop, Texas State is poised to be a dark horse contender this season. Z-Star's crew is only getting better each week. Now let's head over to the West Coast, where Fresno State is holding strong at 4-0 under Coach Cammy. And the player to watch here is their quarterback, Mikey Keene. This guy is making a serious name for himself with 1,400 yards and 15 touchdowns already. That's video game-like numbers, folks. But Keene isn't doing it alone. He's got 2 standout wideouts in Jalen Moss and Nathan Acevedo, both of whom are averaging over 100 yards per game. And get this, they're both juniors. Fresno State is stacked offensively, and if this duo keeps producing, we might be looking at one of the most explosive offenses in the entire Premier College Football League. Over at Jacksonville State, Coach Fallon has his team sitting at 3-0, and you've got to give a lot of credit to their quarterback, Zion Turner. This guy is on fire with 14 touchdowns and only 3 picks through 3 games. But here's where it gets really interesting. He's found a star in wide receiver Jeremiah Colbert, who is averaging 206 receiving yards per game and has already pulled in 9 touchdowns. Turner and Colbert are forming one of the most dangerous QB wideout duos in the league, and it's going to be tough for anyone to slow them down. And last but certainly not least, we've got the Tennessee Volunteers sitting pretty at 3-0 under Coach Keyron. And let me tell you, they are off and running. Quarterback Nico Iamavia is absolutely torching defenses with 12 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. He's playing mistake-free football, and when your QB is that efficient, you're going to win a lot of games. But here's where it gets wild. On defense, Caleb Herring already has 11 sacks in just 3 games. That's an aggressive attack on the SEC, and if Herring keeps this up, we could see some all-time records being broken this season. Keyron has found a way to exploit the CPU, and so far, they have not been able to stop it. More power to him. And before we wrap up this segment, let's give a quick shout-out to the lone winless user team, Louisiana Tech, coached by Drama Man. Come on, Drama. Time to get in the win column. Even Neff over at Eastern Michigan has managed to pull out a W. So let's see if Drama Man can turn it around and get that first victory of the season. Now, I want to talk about something happening in real life that ties into what we're seeing in the game. A player leaving UNLV over not getting his NIL deal money. Look, NIL deals are a huge part of college football now, and they've become a deciding factor in a lot of players' decisions. In this case, it's unfortunate that this player didn't get what he was promised, but it also highlights the reality we're dealing with today. Money talks, and these deals can have a big impact on a team's future. What's interesting is how this kind of thing gets reflected in NCAA 25. In-game, we're seeing players make similar decisions based on their situations, and it's part of the realism that makes the experience so immersive. The game incorporates NIL deals, transfers, and all the things we see in the real college football world. It's a new era, folks. Speaking of realism, let's talk about holding penalties. I've seen complaints left and right about holding calls being too frequent, both in real life and in the game. But come on, folks, it's football. Holding has been part of the game forever. Sometimes it gets called, sometimes it doesn't. It's up to you to respond to long-distance scenarios. So now it's 2nd and long instead of 2nd and 5. Do you go for a chunk play or set up in something wide, only to run a draw up the middle to try and catch defense sleeping and get yardage back? Do you take a look and see if your lineman has a trait that makes him undisciplined, or do you just continue on your merry way and not take on any coaching responsibility? That freshman sitting over there hungry to play? Well, that may be your answer. check his traits, and see. Instead of complaining, it's time to accept that this is part of the game and the best teams know how to play through it. All right, folks, that's going to do it for episode 2 of the Cole Klatt Show. What an episode! Packed with drama, powerhouse performances, and some serious shakeups in the Premier College Football League. Whether it's coaches stepping up, players breaking records, or that constant battle against those sliders, this season is shaping up to be a wild ride. But here's the thing, this is only the beginning. We've got more action, more analysis, and more stories to come as this league continues to evolve. So, if you want to stay in the loop, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. Next week, we're going even deeper. We'll be breaking down the mid-season surprises, looking at who's rising, who's falling, and which teams need to make major adjustments to stay in the playoff hunt. Plus, we've got some exciting guests lined up to bring you even more insight into the league. So whether you're a die-hard competitor, a college football fanatic, or just here for the storylines, make sure to tune in. This is where the competition meets entertainment, and you don't want to miss what's coming next. Thanks for listening, and remember, stay locked in, stay competitive, and we'll see you next time on the Cole Klatt Show, where champions are made and legends are written.